What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol SQ for Square Inc. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this will, of course, be a bit of an update. In the past, we discussed this gap in the stock from in here. Obviously, that has filled now to the downside, and on today's session, what you'll notice is that we resisted at the bottom of the gap from in here, as well as the daily 200 SMA. That's this green line on my chart. It's also the high of today's session. So that, of course, is giving me a little bit of a bearish slant here inside of SQ. You'll also note from the daily time frame, right, we have continuous lower highs forming, and this didn't even make it into the resistance trend line, showing a little bit more relative weakness, the fact that this bounce could not carry itself into trend here at the, give or take 255, we'll call it for round number 6. So this is looking like a bearish play. Short underneath today's low essentially is available to take us into this known area of support at 227, just about the whole dollar. If I scrunch up the chart, you can see where this is coming from. So prior area of resistance, then acted as support from in this lower wick, and certainly in this area here. So to me, any breakdown of this area here, let's go ahead and throw this on with a regular price level, any breakdown of this zone at and around, let's just call it 232-ish as a round number. Again, you can sort of split the difference here. Again, your play is this, right? So if we bounce, do something like this, consolidate just above, take the breakdown, and again, this is not financial advice, this is just simply stating what the chart could potentially do. I could see this breaking down to under 232 to get into about 227. From there, reassess, because again, this is a fairly strong area of support on the chart. Now, don't get me wrong, we are in a downtrend and we typically expect supports to break in downtrends, but given the nature of its significance, I would be a little bit cautious in terms of looking for a massive move lower into what I would argue would be here, the next major area, right around that 211.25. The next thing I'll point out from the daily before we jump into a Fibonacci analysis is the fact that we have two pretty, expansive days to the downside. And again, SQ can do this. You can see that it's run here to the downside, but it wouldn't surprise me per se if we saw a little bit of activity lower and then kind of a grind into sideways consolidation just based on the nature of the selling pressure that's here. If it's really going to see a massive breakdown, needs to be punctuated by strong sell side volume. If volume's on par with what we've seen recently, kind of in this 500,000 shares per 30-minute bar range, I would not expect a big breakdown underneath 227, the whole dollar. Okay, so that's it from a volume perspective. Lastly, let's come in with our fibs and just talk about, recapture areas coming in from today's high down to the low. What you'll certainly note is that the 38.2 is aligning with structure, so I like that. We're going to go ahead and throw that on with a regular price level. There we go at 235.15, give or take. And then the other thing I want to do is take the fibs out from the high of the entire move. Here we go, from up in here to the low of the entire move. And just note where this 38.2 is. It's kind of up here. I would opt for structurally at the 240.91. And again, this is just going to give us a sense of how aggressive we can be or cautious we want to be, right? So bearish consolidation happens here for that breakdown for lower. If we recapture the 235, okay, that's a step in the right direction. I would look to retarget this, and then remember that this is kind of the 38.2 of the entire move from here. It's a little bit higher, of course, but that's the structural area to pay attention to as your next overhead target. After that, walk them up. Remember that there's not a whole lot of structure in here. I would really look for that 245 to act as your next overhead resistance if there's a major bounce out of here. But again, based on the nature of the daily chart, resisting at the bottom of the gap and the 200 simple period moving average, doesn't really look like it wants to see a huge reversal just yet. So be patient here, or potentially look for the short idea underneath today's low to take us into that 227. That's going to wrap up the video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything new today, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description. And all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.